Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome. Please make sure you give this video a like and make sure you subscribe for future coverage. So, it is March 10th, the year of our Lord, 2023, and a major bank has collapsed in the United States. This bank was based in California, guys, and things are starting to unravel in the U.S. Now, if anybody has been paying attention, the U.S. has pretty much been bankrupt for the past couple of decades now. They have trillions of dollars in debt. This debt is pretty much is unpayable. The politicians, every time they're faced with a decision and the consequences of their limitless money printing, always decide to raise the debt ceiling, and they continue to print, and so they're pretty much ignoring this major debt they have, but they are going to have to reap what they sow, and we're starting to see this now here. We've been seeing this for the last couple of years, pretty much since 2008, but again, the dollar is so tied up in the world economy, and so many other nations depend on the dollar, right, or on the American empire, that they pretty much have been playing along, because if the United States collapses, it's going to affect the whole world. Yes, even Russia and even China, however, a lot less with Russia now, since luckily for them, the United States decided to exclude them pretty much from the Western economy because of the war in Ukraine. But again, I think this is all prophetic in nature. I think this is all biblical. So I think that's why Russia has been excluded, because they have their part to play in end times prophecies. But anyways, we understand that according to the Bible, there will be a new world order. Now, a lot of people who don't necessarily believe in the Bible theorize about this and speculate about this, right? You hear talks about the elite, about the Illuminati, about how they are engineering a wealth transfer, an economic collapse in order to establish a new world order, a universal basic income. And, you know, they're on to something, but as a Christian, I believe that the truth is always found in the Word of God. And I believe that the Bible, as a matter of fact, I know that the Bible talks about a new world order in the book of Revelations, and I'll touch on that at the end of the video. But before this new world order, there has to be a collapse, right? To set up the stage for this new world order. And so we are starting to see this in the United States, and we're going to be taking a read at this article here from the New York Post. Again, this is trending all over social media right now. I was just watching the Timcast. Steve Bannon was on there, Matt Gaetz, and they're talking about this. And, you know, you're going to see it all over the news on Monday. Of course, this had to happen on Friday. And you already have all these experts trying to explain what happened. But as always, none of them foresaw this. But after it takes place, they always come up with all these theories as to why this is happening. But nobody is going to give you the right answer, because it's like the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, when, you know, that one character said, you know, it's a fugazi, it's a fugazi, it's a whole bunch of shenanigans. It's a Ponzi scheme. The United States is broke, right? And I believe the situation, we're going to see something historic here, an economic collapse that is going to affect the world. And it's going to look like the fall of the American Empire. It's going to look like the fall of the Roman Empire. And they're not going to know what to do. But I believe that there will be an answer. And I'm going to get into that because, again, this is the great deception that is coming upon the world. And I actually made a video on this. I believe it's titled Babylon the Great. Go look it up on my YouTube channel. But anyways, let's go ahead and read about this major bank collapse here. So this is from the New York Post. And as you can see, it says, Silicon Valley Bank meltdown sparks contagion fears. We found our Enron. Fears of a broad financial contagion spread on Friday after tech lender Silicon Valley Bank set off alarm bells over liquidity concerns, sparking share losses across the banking sector worth some $52 billion on Thursday. On Friday, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp said regulators have shut the bank down to protect insured deposits. That was after the bank's parent, SVB Financial, had reportedly tapped outside advisors to facilitate a potential sale. Large financial institutions were exploring a potential acquisition of SVB Financial, CNBC reported, citing sources familiar with the matter. Now remember, CNBC's Cramer was literally touting and promoting the stock about a month ago. Now we know Cramer has become a meme because every time he recommends something, it ends up turning, to the contrary, right? It ends up failing. So it looks like he's right on cue here. But anyways, it continues here. That was after the bank's parent, SB Financial, had reportedly tapped, I just read that. Earlier in the morning, building managers at Silicon Valley Bank's Manhattan branch reportedly called the police after a group of tech founders showed up and attempted to pull out their cash. So these are bank runs, guys. People ran in fear to the bank and were literally trying to draw out their cash. Now, people are going to lose millions of dollars, billions here. And again, this fear of contagion just means that they fear that this is going to start. It's going to start a domino effect with all these other banks, which I believe it will, because I believe it has to be that way according to biblical prophecy. So it goes on here. Earlier in the morning, building managers at Silicon Valley Bank's Manhattan branch reportedly called the police after a group of tech founders showed up and attempted to pull out their cash. SVB shares, which plunged 60% yesterday after the company's CEO begged investors to stay calm and not panic. They always tell people not to panic and to stay calm right before a collapse, right? Over liquidity concerns, remained halted as of midday Friday after plunging 47% in pre-market trading early Friday. Peter Thiel's venture capital firm founders firm advised clients to withdraw their deposits from Silicon Valley Bank, despite the fact that the lender has been a mainstay for tech startup for decades, according to Bloomberg News. So this is going to affect all these thousands of startups that had their money invested in this bank. They're going to go broke. Bill Ackman, the billionaire hedge fund manager, called on the U.S. government to step in and bail out Silicon Valley Bank. And they're probably going to, guys. They literally have no other option but to print money and bail out this bank. This isn't just a bank we're talking about. We're talking about the collapse of the United States here. So what else are they gonna do? They're not just gonna let it collapse. They're gonna do everything they can to save the economy here. They have to. Bill Ackman, the billionaire hedge fund manager, called on U.S. government to step in and bail out Silicon Valley Bank. Michael Burry, the eccentric investor featured in the 2015 film The Big Short, warned, "It is possible today we found our Enron." Remember, Enron was this company that was essentially a major Ponzi scheme that collapsed. And again, they're always touting these companies. Everybody is always saying everything is fine. Nobody ever sees these things coming, which shows you that the experts are full of nonsense. Shares of Silicon Valley's bank's parent company, SVB Financial Group, nosedived by 60% on Thursday evening, wiping out more than $80 billion from its market capitalization. The company's stock was down another 45% in pre-market trading on Friday, dragging down the share price of several other publicly traded banking giants. Greg Becker, the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, tried to calm tech investors and startups during a Thursday Zoom call. My ask is to stay calm because that's what is important, Becker told listeners on the call. We have been long term supporters of you. The last thing we need you to do is panic. Shares of Signature Bank dropped by some 4% in pre market trading, while First Republic Bank, whose stock fell 17% on Thursday, was down another 3% before the opening bell on Friday. Shares of JP Morgan Chase, which fell 5% on Thursday, dropped another 1% in pre-market trading on Friday. On Wednesday, Silicon Valley Bank said it would raise $2.25 billion following a $1.8 billion after-tax loss in various bets on securities. Goldman Sachs, the Wall Street investment giant, was involved in efforts to save the bank, according to the Wall Street Journal. Golden bankers arranged for the company to sell shares at $95 per share on Thursday afternoon, the Journal reported. But the deal fell apart as the stock price kept dropping and more customers withdrew their deposits. Bank runs, guys. We knew that would create a lot of noise, which it has, Becker conceded. But what we wanted to do was reposition a low-yield asset to a high-yield asset. SVB, which does business as Silicon Valley Bank, launched a $1.75 billion share sale on Wednesday to shore up its balance sheet. It said in an investor prospectus it needed the proceeds to plug a $1.8 billion hole caused by the sale of a $21 billion loss-making bond portfolio consisting mostly of U.S. Treasuries. The portfolio was yielding in an average 1.79 return, far below the current 10-year Treasury yield of around 3.9%. The failure at SVB Financial could destroy an important long-term driver of the economy as VC-backed companies rely on SVB for loans and holding their operating cash, Ackman tweeted. And private capital can't provide a solution. A highly diluted government-preferred bailout should be considered. Ackman likened the turmoil engulfing Silicon Valley Bank to the 2008 financial crisis. Remember, guys, they still debate as to what really happened in 2008. These experts, right, who are supposed to know what they're doing, right? They're supposed to be able to explain and predict, trends in the economy, but they're always wrong. None of them ever foresee what is going to happen, and they can never explain what were the reasons for this. But again, it's all due to the fact that the United States is literally bankrupt, right? They're living in a lie. They just keep printing on money. And again, because the dollar is so tied up in the world economy, everybody else has to play along. But again, the time has come to reap what has been sown. So he says that, and then he goes on here. If private capital can't provide a solution, a highly dilutive government-preferred bailout should be considered. Ackman likened the turmoil engulfing Silicon Valley Bank to the 2008 financial crisis when the Federal Reserve bailed out JP Morgan Chase after the Wall Street giant bought investment bank Bear Stearns, whose market value was eviscerated due to its involvement in the risky subprime mortgage markets. According to Ackman, no other private institution will step in to save Silicon Valley Bank the way JP Morgan rescued Bear Stearns. After what the Feds did to JP Morgan after it bailed out Bear Stearns, I don't see another bank stepping in to help SVB Financial, according to Ackman. The government could also guarantee deposits in exchange for a dilutive warrant issuance and other covenants and protections, Ackman tweeted. If SB Financial is indeed solvent, this would buy time to enable SVB to restore the franchise and raise new private capital. Ackman then clarified in a later tweet that any bailout of Silicon Valley Bank should be designed to protect its depositors, not equity holders or management. We should not reward poor risk management or protect shareholders from risks they knowingly assumed, Ackman tweeted. He added, the risk of failure and deposit losses here is that the next least well-capitalized bank faces a run and fails, and the dominoes continue to fall. That is why government intervention should be considered. I mean, they're always calling upon the government, guys. Essentially, they're just moving money around. Of course, nobody in the U.S. wants the American economy to collapse, but that is exactly what is going to happen, guys, because the Bible has prophesied, right? It's been prophesied in the Bible that there will be a new world order, and the United States has a big part to play in that prophecy. Again, I believe we are living in the end of days. I believe all the signs are here, right? And everything happening in Russia, everything happening with China is all part of it, right? I'm sure there's probably going to be some joker out there that's going to try to blame this on Putin. They're literally blaming a rainy day on Vladimir Putin right now. But it's definitely precipitating what is going on with the United States right now and the dollar and its economic collapse. We see China is rising, right? China is literally producing everything. All the United States has are its dollars. But again, we're now starting to see the effects of this endless money printing, this mismanagement, which has been happening for decades. And again, they can't stop it. It's going to collapse. This is going to be historic. But again, there will be an answer, and it's going to seem like a miracle. And I'm going to get into that now. Now, this is going to be spiritual in nature. This is going to be biblical, guys, because again, I believe that all of the answers are found in the scriptures. Again, the Bible isn't just a book of laws. It's not just a guide on how to live your life. It's a book of prophecies, right? It's a book that warns humanity of the things that are coming upon the earth, and it specifically talks about this new world order in the book of Revelations. Now, the Apostle John was given these revelations on the Isle of Patmos, and here we're just going to take a look at the verse that talks about this prophesied new world order before the end, which is going to be satanic in nature, but is going to have the appearance of something good, like a miracle. And this is what's coming to the United States. The U.S. is not going to know what to do. They're going to see this major collapse. People are going to be crying. They're going to think it's a fall of the American empire. But then something unexpected is going to happen. But first, let's go ahead and read what it says here. So, this is from chapter 13 in the book of Revelations, verse 16. So, it's talking about this this beast here. Now, I've touched on that in other videos, but we're going to read about the New World Order here. So, it says, "He causes all, both small and great," so this New World Order system, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads. Of course, there's a lot of speculation about the mark of the beast, but I won't get into that right now. "And that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." And of course, here's one of the famous verses. "Here's the wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. His number is 666. And now, guys, I am going to give you my own personal belief here as to how this New World Order is going to come about and the reason why we are going to see this historic economic collapse here that is going to affect the whole world. Now, obviously, the United States isn't going to default on its debt. That would be a major embarrassment. That would essentially be the collapse of the American empire. So what I believe is going to happen here is, if we go back to the Old Testament, the prophet Daniel had a vision, right? Or rather, he had an interpretation for a dream that the king of Babylon had, right? And so the prophet Daniel said that before the appearance of God, before the return of the Lord, there would be 4 major kingdoms before that would happen. Now, it's understood by most biblical scholars and historians that those kingdoms were to be the first one was the Babylonian Empire. I believe the second one was the Medo-Persian Empire, and then it was the Greek Empire, and then the Roman Empire before the appearance of God, before the return of the Lord. Now, of course, many would say, well, that vision failed, right? The Roman Empire doesn't exist anymore. It collapsed. Well, wrong. We know that the pagan Roman Empire around the year 325 officially became the Holy Roman Empire. So it became a Christian empire, right? They officially declared Christianity the main religion of the Roman Empire. So it was no longer pagan with its pagan religions, right? Like during the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire, but it turned to the Holy Roman Empire, and that pretty much went on for 1,000 years. And you can read about the history in Europe and how pretty much the Catholic Church controlled everything that was taking place over there. For those of you that know, we know all the atrocities that were committed, all the wars, all in the name of God. And so, even though the Holy Roman Empire was dissolved when Napoleon conquered it and defeated it, we still have the remnants of the Roman Empire in a what appears to be weakened state. And it's right there inside of Italy as its own nation, as the smallest nation on earth, known as Vatican City, Rome, with the Pope as its head, Pontifex Maximus. And they still have all the same laws. They still have all the same organization and beliefs that the Holy Roman Empire have. They just don't have the military. They don't have a way to actually impose their will, right? But the Pope still considers himself the supreme over all of the earth, both spiritually and physically. So, the early founding fathers of the United States were very aware of this danger, right? Of the union of this religious system with the political, and so wisely they created the separation of church and state, even though, of course, most of the early peoples of the United States were Christian Protestants, and the majority still are. I know people like to talk about the rise in atheism, but the majority of the population is still Christian in the United States, right? And so, actually, at the beginning of the U.S., Catholics were forbidden to hold office or any position in government, right? Because they were well aware that, if any actual loyal Catholic pledges his loyalty to the Pope in Rome, right, and puts his authority above all governments, right? He's supposed to be the vicar of Christ, which, he is not. It's the Catholic religion is just a hybrid religion, a mix of the ancient Roman pagan religion with Christianity. So it's not, it's that's why they teach all these things that aren't found in the Bible. Now, I'm not just taking a jab at the Catholics. This has happened with all the other denominations. And so, of course, all of this has long been forgotten. Of course, now the United States, they have a Catholic president, Joe Biden, although many would argue that he's not, truly a faithful Catholic because of his stance on things like abortion and things of the like. But again, they don't have to control the population. They just have to have people in positions of power. So we know we now have a Catholic president. And as a matter of fact, the Supreme Court, the majority in there is held by Catholics. 6 out of the 9 Supreme Justices are Catholics. So if they are truly genuine Catholics, they're going to let all their decisions be affected by the interest of the church. And so here's what I'm getting to. We're going to see this historical collapse of the American economy, and it's going to affect the world. But just when it looks like America is done for, there's going to be a union again between church and state. Now, people aren't aware of this, but the Catholic Church is in fact the richest institution on earth. There's a great, great books that were written by historians. You can go look up Avro Manhattan. He was very aware of the machinations of the Catholic Church during his time, and he wrote an excellent uh, article titled "The Vatican: Wealth Accumulation from Caesar to the Space Age." It's no secret that the Vatican has invaluable and priceless works of arts in Rome, right? The buildings itself, the city itself, right? And they also have investments pretty much in everything around the world. And on top of that, they have their faithful in pretty much every nation, and they actually hold a lot of influence over these governments. Now, we've seen a rise in this religious rhetoric in the United States, especially from the Republicans towards the Democrats. And again, this union is going to be a deception, right? And it's not aimed at the unbelievers. It's not aimed at the atheists. This is aimed at those that profess to believe in the Bible, right? Because the devil makes himself out to be an angel of light. And so he is going to use this false religion, this false movement to fool these congressmen, right? These people in power. And we are going to see Rome once again unite with the power of the state. And so I believe that Rome is going to make a deal, a pact with the United States, right, in order to save the U.S. from this economic collapse. And they are going to develop this new world order. And so everybody will have to accept the terms and conditions of this union in order to be able to buy and sell. Now, I believe one of the justifications for this system is going to be in order to create a front against communism, against China, right? China is bad, right? They are godless. And, they are the rising economy. I would say the number one economy in the world right now because they literally produce everything. And this is also going to be aimed at Russia. And so there is going to be a period of prosperity in this New World Order system. The kings and the governors of the earth are going to become wealthy through it. Those that don't take the mark are going to be excluded from this, and so they are going to have to fend for themselves. They are going to have to find a way to survive. But eventually, this whole system will be judged according to the Bible, and then I'm not going to get into detail. That's when I believe we will have a World War III, a nuclear war, where God is going to purge this earth by fire. Now, I know this sounds completely strange, guys, but as I've warned before, don't keep your eye on China, don't keep your eye on Russia, keep your eye on the Vatican, and keep your eye on the United States, because, again, when people see this, they're going to be happy, they're going to thank God, they're going to praise God, they're all going to gather together under the motto that we are all God's children, and they are going to think that it is a miracle and that it is a confirmation that the United States is a nation chosen of God, which, at the beginning, the U.S. did start off as a Christian nation, but then they veered off just like Israel in the Old Testament, and they've become sinful, and they are pretty much now worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. And so, as I've said before, I'm neither American nor pro-American, pro-Russian, pro-Chinese. I'm pro-Bible, but I do believe that God will use Russia as a tool of judgment, right, in order to judge this system and really to judge the world. And that's why all nations have to pass away. But again, you're going to see this collapse. It's inevitable. But just remember, what is going to take place is not going to be expected. It's going to be completely opposite of what people are expecting, but it's going to come in such a way that it's going to fool even those that profess to be Christians. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. And as I always say, remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.